Commander Elena Torres squinted at the holographic readout floating above her desk aboard the Cirrus Mining Operations Center. Something wasn't right with the numbers from Outpost 7. The remote asteroid mining facility had reported unusual energy fluctuations in their sector for the past 6 hours, far beyond normal background radiation levels. Maya, give me a visual on Outpost 7's long-range scanners, Elena commanded. The station's AI complied, transforming her office wall into a vast window onto the asteroid belt. At first glance, everything appeared normal. The endless field of tumbling rocks, occasional flashes from mining lasers, and the distant glint of transport ships. Then she saw it. A ripple in space, like heat waves rising from hot asphalt, followed by a massive tear in the fabric of reality itself. Through this cosmic wound poured dozens of vessels, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly iridescence that made them look like soap bubbles in space. But these were no delicate things. The smallest was the size of an aircraft carrier, the largest rivaling small moons. Maya, sound General Quarters. Get me a direct line to Earth Command, and wake up every xenolinguist in the system. We got first contact. The alien ships moved erratically, their formation broken and scattered. As Elena watched, one of the smaller vessels listed sharply, venting what looked like liquid light into space. These weren't invaders on a war path. They were refugees running for their lives. Commander, Maya's holographic form materialized beside Elena's desk. I'm detecting widespread structural failures across the alien fleet. Their power signatures are highly unstable, and I'm picking up what appears to be some form of distress signal broadcasting on all frequencies. Elena didn't hesitate. Humanity had spent centuries debating how to handle first contact, but she knew what had to be done. Send out an all-channels broadcast in every format we know. Make it clear we're offering assistance, and get our rescue ships moving. We've got people to save, human or not. The next few hours were chaos. The alien vessels, which identified themselves as belonging to the luminary species, were suffering from catastrophic failures in their quantum probability drives. Technology so advanced it might as well have been magic to human engineers. Their desperate flight from an unspecified threat had pushed their systems beyond their limits, and now nearly 30 million refugees were trapped in failing ships. Elena found herself face to face with the first luminary to board the station. The alien was roughly humanoid but seemed to be made of living crystal, its transparent body filled with swirling colors that shifted with its emotions. It introduced itself as Voice of Distant Songs. Your assistance is unexpected. The alien's thoughts resonated directly in Elena's mind. Our scans showed your species has barely mastered fusion power. We assumed you could not help. Elena smiled. You'd be surprised what humans can do with duct tape and determination. We may not understand your quantum drives, but we're pretty good at keeping things running with whatever we have on hand. The alien's colors swirled in what Elena hoped was amusement rather than horror. Our engineers estimate complete systems failure within 14 of your Earth days. Without quantum-balanced power distribution, we cannot maintain life support for our people. Then we better get to work, Elena replied, pulling up schematics of the human mining stations. Your ships may be more advanced, but our mining outposts are built to survive anything. We can start evacuating your most vulnerable people immediately while our engineers figure out how to stabilize your vessels. Voice of Distant Songs, crystalline form, pulsed with deep blue light. You would take such risks for an unknown species. Commit such resources without guarantee of return. Elena thought of all the stories she'd read as a child, tales of humanity reaching for the stars. This is what we do. When someone needs help, we help. Everything else is just details. As evacuation ships began ferrying the first groups of luminary refugees to the mining outposts, Elena watched the controlled chaos from her office window. Human rescue workers in bulky environment suits worked alongside crystalline aliens who floated through space on wings of pure energy. Already, engineering teams were proposing wild solutions. jury-rigging mining laser power systems to supplement the alien ship's failing cores, converting ice asteroids into emergency heat sinks, even using modified mass draggers to tow the smaller vessels to safety. It was impossible. It was dangerous. It was exactly the kind of challenge humanity lived for. Maya's hologram appeared again. "Commander, Earth Command is on the line. They're asking for your assessment of the situation." Elena watched as a human engineer tried to explain the concept of redundant backup systems to a bewildered luminary technician using nothing but hand gestures and crude drawings. She smiled. "Tell them we're going to need every engineer, every ship, and every spare part we can get our hands on. And tell them to hurry. We've got 30 million people counting on good old human ingenuity to save their lives." The rescue operation was about to begin, and humanity was about to show the galaxy what they could do with impossible odds and unwavering determination. Chief Engineer Marcus Chen stood in what the luminary called a power distribution nexus, though to his human eyes it looked more like the inside of a kaleidoscope. Crystalline structures pulsed with failing light, and what he assumed were status displays flickered in patterns that made his head hurt. "So let me get this straight," he said to his luminary counterpart, weaver of energy paths. "Your quantum probability drives don't just power your ships. They actually hold them together at a subatomic level." The crystalline alien's body dimmed slightly, their equivalent of a nod. "Our vessels exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously. When the drives fail, reality becomes unstable." Marcus whistled. No wonder the aliens were in trouble. They weren't just facing power failure. Their ships were literally coming apart at the seams of reality itself. He pulled out his tablet, already modified to interface with luminary systems, thanks to some creative programming. "Show me your power distribution grid again," he requested. As Weaver projected a holographic display, Marcus began sketching on his tablet. Other human engineers around the vast chamber were doing the same, each tackling a different aspect of the crisis. "Your methods are primitive," Weaver observed, colors swirling uncertainly. Marcus grinned. "Sometimes primitive is exactly what you need. Look here." He held up his tablet. "Your quantum systems are incredibly complex, but at their core, they're still moving energy from point A to point B. We might not be able to fix your drives, but we can stabilize them." He pointed to the mining station's power grid. "Our fusion reactors are crude compared to your tech, but they're reliable. If we network them together, we can create a power foundation. Something solid for your quantum systems to build on, like putting a cast on a broken leg." Weaver's crystalline form sparkled with what Marcus had learned was surprise. "You would interface our technology with yours. The energy differentials alone cold. Blow us all to atoms." Marcus finished. "Yeah, probably. That's why we're going to test it first." He gestured to a team setting up equipment in the corner. "We've modified a mining laser power coupling. Smaller scale, same principle. Want to help me possibly explode something in the name of science?" The test setup was crude by luminary standards. Human industrial equipment jury-rigged to interface with alien technology through a series of hastily designed adapters. But as Marcus initiated the power transfer, something remarkable happened. The human system's steady power flow seemed to stabilize the quantum fluctuations in the luminary tech, like a hand steadying a wobbling top. "It's working," one of the human technicians shouted. "Quantum variance dropping by 30%. Weaver's body blazed with bright colors. "Impossible. The technological gap is too great. This should not function." Marcus was already making adjustments. "That's the thing about humans. We don't pay much attention to impossible. We just keep trying until something works." The next few days saw a flurry of activity across the fleet. Human engineering teams worked around the clock, installing modified power couplings throughout the luminary vessels. Mining stations were stripped of non-essential equipment, their power systems repurposed to support the alien ships. Every mining laser, fusion generator, and power relay within 50 million kilometers was requisitioned for the effort. It wasn't elegant. The beautiful crystalline lines of luminary engineering were now marred by blocky human technology, power cables snaking through quantum corridors like vines on ancient ruins. But it worked. Ship by ship, the fleet's power systems stabilized. There were failures, of course. 3 human engineers were badly injured when a power coupling overloaded. A section of one luminary vessel phased partially out of reality before emergency systems could compensate. But with each failure came new understanding, new solutions. The luminary began to see beauty in the crude efficiency of human engineering. Their own technology was built on perfection. Quantum states balanced like subatomic ballet dancers. Human technology was built on redundancy, on the assumption that things would go wrong, and you needed backups for your backups. Your species continues to confound us, Voice of Distant Songs told Elena during a progress briefing. You solve problems in ways we would never consider. Elena watched through the viewport as human ships towed a massive ice asteroid into position, part of an improvised cooling system for the alien fleet's overtaxed engines. We had to learn to be adaptable. Space is hostile enough without making things more complicated than they need to be. The luminary leader's colors shifted thoughtfully. Perhaps our own pursuit of perfection has become a weakness. We never considered simple solutions because we saw them as beneath us. But as the human engineers celebrated their successes, Maya's sensors detected something troubling. The quantum disturbances from the failing drives had created a beacon, a trail through space leading right to them. And something was following that trail. The threat that had sent the luminary fleeing into human space was coming. They had bought time with human ingenuity, but soon they would need more than clever engineering to survive what was coming. The first warning came from a mining drone at the edge of the system. One moment it was transmitting routine asteroid composition data. The next it was gone. Not destroyed, but simply erased from existence, as if it had never been there at all. Multiple reality distortions detected, Maya announced across all channels. Unknown entities emerging from quantum space. Through the command center's windows, Elena and Voice of Distant Songs watched as space itself seemed to unravel. Where the luminary ships had torn gentle holes in reality during their arrival, these new arrivals ripped it apart with violent purpose. The vessels that emerged were angular and dark, absorbing light rather than reflecting it, their surfaces crawling with what looked like living shadows. The Void Hunters, Voice of Distant Songs whispered, their crystalline form dimming to nearly black. They found us. The enemy fleet was smaller than the luminaries, but moved with predatory precision. Their weapons fired beams of absolute darkness that didn't so much destroy as erase, leaving behind patches of nothingness that hurt the eyes to look at. All stations, battle positions, Elena commanded, her voice steady despite the fear churning in her gut. Begin civilian evacuation procedures. Maya, get me Admiral Chen at Earth Defense Force. But before she could coordinate a response, the Void Hunters struck. Their first target wasn't the luminary fleet or the human stations. It was space itself. Reality-destroying weapons carved up the normal space lanes, isolating pockets of ships and stations from each other. They're not just attacking us, Marcus reported from engineering. They're attacking physics. Those weapons are creating dead zones where our normal laws of physics don't work. We can't get ships through. Elena watched as a human rescue vessel tried to cross one of the dark zones. Its engines sputtered and died, electronics failing as it drifted into the void. Then she saw something that made her heart skip. The shadows on the hull of the nearest Void Hunter ship weren't random patterns. They were moving with purpose, flowing toward the ship's weapons. They're not just hunting your ships, she realized. Turning to Voice of Distant Songs, they're hunting your technology, your quantum drives. The luminary leader's colors swirled in confirmation. They consume advanced technology, break down quantum structures to feed their own evolution. That is why we fled. Our very existence strengthens them. Elena's mind raced. The Void Hunters were targeting quantum technology, feeding off its complexity. But human technology. Maya, "Get me Marcus and every engineering team leader. I have an idea that's either brilliant or suicidal." She turned to Voice of Distant Songs. "Your ships are too advanced to fight them. But ours," understanding dawned in the alien swirling colors, "are too primitive to interest them." The next hour was organized chaos. Human mining ships, their hulls reinforced with layers of asteroid rock, formed protective cordons around the luminary vessels. When the Void Hunters fired their reality-destroying weapons, the human ships' simple construction and basic technology provided little sustenance, their crude armor absorbing or deflecting the attacks. Marcus led teams in reconfiguring the mining lasers, their simple but powerful beams proving surprisingly effective against the Void Hunters' quantum-based defenses. It was like trying to hack a quantum computer with a rock. So primitive it worked. "They can't process our attacks," Marcus reported gleefully. "Their defenses are built to handle quantum weapons. Regular photon beams are too basic for their systems to defend against." But the real turning point came when Elena authorized Operation Sledgehammer. Mining ships used their mass drivers, essentially giant electromagnetic railguns designed to launch ore containers, to fire chunks of magnetized asteroid directly at the Void Hunters. The simple kinetic impacts overwhelmed their reality-bending defenses. "Sometimes the old ways are the best ways," Elena commented as she watched a Void Hunter ship spin out of control, its hull breached by what was essentially a very fast rock. The Luminary, initially horrified by such crude tactics, quickly adapted. They began using their quantum technology not to attack, but to predict where the Void Hunters would be, guiding the human ship's primitive weapons with terrifying accuracy. Voice of Distant Songs watched as another Void Hunter vessel succumbed to the combined human luminary assault. "We spent millennia perfecting our technology, reaching for the highest complexity. We never considered that simplicity could be a weapon." The battle raged for hours, but the Void Hunters hadn't counted on facing an enemy that fought with simple physics and basic technology. Their quantum-based sensors, designed to track and consume advanced technology, were nearly blind to human ships. It was like trying to catch smoke with a quantum computer. Finally, after taking heavy losses, the remaining Void Hunter ships retreated, their reality-destroying weapons failing against the unexpected combination of human simplicity and luminary precision. But as the adrenaline of victory faded, Elena realized they had an even bigger problem. The battle had damaged many of their jury-rigged power systems, and the luminary ships were once again facing critical failure. They had won the battle, but unless they could find a more permanent solution, they might still lose everything. The real work was just beginning. In the aftermath of the battle, the combined human luminary fleet hung in space like a strange art installation. Crystalline alien ships wrapped in human technology, mining vessels scared by reality-warping weapons, and everywhere the evidence of their desperate improvisation. Marcus stood in the main engineering bay of the largest luminary vessel, surrounded by holographic displays showing cascading system failures. The makeshift power couplings had held during the battle, but the strain had taken its toll. They were running out of both time and options. "The quantum field harmonics are destabilizing faster than we can compensate," Weaver of Energy Paths reported, their crystalline form flickering with anxiety. "Even with your power systems supporting ours, we're losing coherence." But Marcus wasn't listening. He was staring at a failed power coupling, watching the interaction between human and luminary technology. Where the two systems met, something unexpected was happening. The quantum field wasn't just being stabilized by the human technology, it was adapting to it. "We've been thinking about this all wrong," he said suddenly. "We've been trying to prop up your quantum systems with our power grid, but what if instead we let them merge?" The next few hours were a blur of activity. Marcus and his team worked alongside luminary engineers, studying the failed coupling. The human power systems, primitive as they were, had created a kind of quantum framework, a stable foundation that the more advanced luminary technology could build upon. Elena found them deep in discussion, surrounded by increasingly complex hybrid designs. Please tell me you have good news, she said. We've got about 20,000 refugees in critical condition, and the temporary life support systems won't hold much longer. Marcus looked up, his eyes bright with excitement despite his exhaustion. Better than good news. We've found a way to permanently stabilize the luminary ships. But he hesitated. It's going to change both our technologies forever. The solution they proposed was audacious. Instead of trying to maintain two separate technological systems, they would create a true hybrid. Human fusion reactors would provide a stable power base, while luminary quantum systems would build upon that foundation, creating something entirely new. Think of it like teaching a quantum computer to appreciate analog signals, Marcus explained to a joint council of human and luminary leaders. Our technology is simple but robust. Yours is advanced but vulnerable to quantum disruption. Together, they could be something more. Voice of Distant Song's colors shifted in what had become recognizable as deep thought. You propose not just a temporary solution, but a complete integration of our technologies. This would change the fundamental nature of our vessels. It would change both our species, Alina added. This isn't just an engineering solution. It's first steps toward true technological cooperation. The implementation was unlike anything either species had attempted before. Human engineering teams worked in shifts, redirecting power from mining stations and defense platforms. Luminary quantum specialists guided the integration, their crystalline forms glowing with effort as they manipulated reality itself. The first test was conducted on a small luminary scout ship. As the hybrid system powered up, everyone watched anxiously. The quantum field stabilized, then began to pulse with new strength. Human power systems didn't just support the quantum technology. They became part of it, creating a technological marriage that defied conventional understanding. It's beautiful, Weaver said, watching the energy patterns flow through the hybrid systems. Simple and complex, digital and quantum, working in perfect harmony. The success led to a flurry of new innovations. Human engineers, now working with a basic understanding of quantum mechanics, began proposing modifications to their own technology. Luminary scientists, inspired by human ingenuity, found ways to simplify and strengthen their own systems. But the greatest discovery came unexpectedly. A junior engineer noticed that the hybrid systems were actually more efficient than pure quantum technology at certain tasks. The human components provided a stability that allowed the quantum systems to operate in ways they never could before. It's like we each only had half the equation, Marcus mused, watching as another luminary ship was successfully converted. You had the advanced theory, we had the practical foundation. Apart, each had limitations. Together we are stronger, Voice of Distant Songs completed. Their form had taken on a new pattern of colors, one that combined the swirling complexity of luminary aesthetics with the bold, simple lines of human design. As the conversion process continued, Alina received word that Earth's governments had reached a decision. The luminary would be offered permanent sanctuary, and with it, an opportunity for both species to learn from each other. The future that began to take shape was unlike anything either species had imagined. But as Alina watched human and luminary engineers working side by side, she knew they had found something more valuable than just a technological solution. They had found a way forward, together. 5 years after the Void Hunter attack, the Ceres Mining Operations Center had transformed beyond recognition. Where once simple mining vessels had docked, now hybrid ships of human and luminary design moved with grace through the asteroid field. Their hulls combined crystalline quantum structures with sturdy human engineering, beautiful and practical in equal measure. Alina, now director of the Joint Species Development Initiative, stood in her office alongside Voice of Distant Songs, watching the latest test flight. The experimental vessel moved through space like a living thing, its quantum field supported by human power systems in ways that would have seemed impossible just years ago. Sometimes I still can't believe how far we've come, Alina said, tracking the ship's progress. Remember when we thought just keeping your ships from falling apart was an impossible task? Voice of distant song's crystalline form shimmered with what Elena had long since learned was amusement. My people spent millennia pursuing technological perfection, only to find salvation in what we once considered primitive. The universe has a sense of irony. The changes weren't limited to technology. The initial refugee crisis had evolved into a thriving partnership. Luminary quantum scientists worked alongside human engineers in research facilities across the solar system. Human adaptability combined with luminary precision had led to breakthroughs in fields ranging from medicine to space exploration. Marcus entered the office, his tablet displaying the latest test results. He'd aged in the past 5 years, gray streaking his hair, but his eyes still held the same excitement they had during those first desperate days. "The new hybrid drive is exceeding all expectations," he reported. "The quantum fields are actually more stable than pure luminary technology ever was." Who would have thought that adding some good old-fashioned human redundancy to quantum mechanics would work so well? The success had ripple effects throughout both civilizations. Humanity gained access to advanced quantum technology, but implemented it in their own unique way, always with backups, always with simple solutions ready when the complex ones failed. The luminary, in turn, learned to appreciate the elegance of simplicity, incorporating human engineering principles into their designs. But perhaps the most significant change was in how both species viewed the universe. The Void Hunters had never returned, but their attack had taught valuable lessons. The luminary learned that advancement didn't always mean increasing complexity, while humans discovered that their primitive technology had strengths they'd never appreciated. "We've received another request from the Galactic Council," Elena mentioned, pulling up a holographic message. "They're interested in implementing our hybrid technology as a standard throughout known space. Apparently, we're not the only ones who've had trouble with quantum-based threats." Voice of distant songs pulsed with pride. "What we've created here is more than just technology. It's a philosophy, a recognition that true progress comes not from pursuing complexity or simplicity alone, but from finding the balance between them." Outside the window, the test ship completed its maneuvers, its hybrid systems performing perfectly. Behind it, construction continued on the new Joint Species Academy, where the next generation of human and luminary engineers would learn together, combining the best aspects of both civilizations. "You know what still amazes me?" Marcus said, watching a team of human and luminary engineers guiding the ship into dock. "That first day, when we were just trying to keep your ships from falling apart, we thought we were solving an engineering problem. We had no idea we were actually building a bridge between civilizations." Elena smiled, remembering those desperate first hours of the crisis. "That's humanity for you. We show up to fix a broken engine and end up changing the galaxy." As the sun set behind the asteroid belt, casting long shadows through the crystal and steel structures of the expanded station, Elena reflected on how far they'd come. What had started as a rescue mission had evolved into something far more significant. Proof that sometimes the greatest advances come not from solitary pursuit of progress, but from reaching out to help others in their moment of need. The hybrid ships in orbit stood as testament to that truth, their very existence a reminder that in the vast expanse of space, the strongest bonds are often forged in crisis, and the greatest innovations come from combining different ways of seeing the universe. Humanity had reached for the stars hoping to find wonders. Instead, they had found something more valuable: the chance to create those wonders, together with friends they never knew they'd make. And that, perhaps, was the greatest innovation of all.